Mr. Speaker, I join the Leader of the House in paying tribute to Lieutenant Aaron Lewis, who was killed in Afghanistan on Monday, and as she has said, our thoughts are with his family at this desperately sad time. We look forward to the Prime Minister's statement tomorrow about the withdrawal of British troops from Iraq, although we were surprised that since this news relating to national security was leaked by the government last week, no one has since been arrested. Across the House, Mr. Speaker, we salute the work of the British forces in Iraq. They will have been there for longer than 6 years, a deployment longer than the entire Second World War. And as we welcome the end of this deployment, isn't it now finally time for the government to establish what the whole nation expects to see, a full-scale independent inquiry into the origins and conduct of the war?
Well, I would agree with him on his supportive words for the work of our troops in Iraq. We've had a number of inquiries into Iraq, and the Prime Minister has said that there will be no further inquiries until our troops are all returning home. And the Prime Minister will make a further statement to this House tomorrow.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the troops are now going to be returning home, and it is time for this announcement to be made. The government have delayed for years the establishment of an inquiry, and now the learning of lessons that may be relevant to Afghanistan and elsewhere can no longer be delayed. New figures this morning, Mr. Speaker, show a further rise in unemployment of 137,000. It's now at the highest level for 10 years and is obviously set to rise further. We've been pointing out that the big problem is even viable businesses can't get the loans they need. Last week, we asked the government to look again at the bank rescue package, and the Chancellor did announce on Monday one of the measures we have been calling for. But will the government now accept the urgent need to get money into the hands of the businesses of this country?
I do want to reinforce to the Right Honourable Gentleman that there is no delay in an inquiry. We have made it clear that whilst our troops are still in Iraq, which they are, doing their duties, that we will not have a full inquiry on how they went in until after they return. And I think we have to respect the fact that our fighting forces are still in Iraq. There is no delay. As far as unemployment is concerned, any time anyone loses their job, that is a terrible blow for them. And that is why we are stepping up government action with a £1.3 billion package to protect people who become unemployed, to help them get the skills to get new jobs, and also to make sure that if they become unemployed, they don't lose their home. So we are stepping up government action on that. And he's right that small businesses are the lifeblood of enterprise and employment in this country. And that is why we recapitalise the banks to stabilise the banking system. And that's why in January we will be setting up a new small business loan guarantee scheme. It is true to say that whilst lending figures are starting to show increasing lending to small businesses, there are still businesses having problems. That's why the National Lending Panel has been established.
But, Mr. Speaker, things are actually getting harder for households and businesses who want to borrow at the moment, not easier. This country has now been in recession for 6 months. A leading minister said this week we are facing a recession deeper than any that we have known. Is it not now clear that the government's policies have failed so far, that people are losing their jobs by the hour, that the small business guarantee scheme she referred to covers only 1/5 of 1% of business loans? And don't we now need a national loan guarantee scheme of the kind we have advocated before more businesses go to the wall and many more tens of thousands of people are made unemployed?
We are taking action to protect people who become unemployed. Does his party back the £1.3 billion extra we are putting into job centres? No, they've said they'll cut public spending, and they opposed our action to recapitalise the banks. As far as unemployment is concerned, we agree that for every individual who loses their job, That is a terrible blow for them, and that's why we are taking the action necessary, despite the fact that unemployment is still about 600,000 lower than it was when we first came into office. And as far as their so-called National Loan Guarantee Scheme, it's not a guarantee of anybody to anything, because if it's backed up by no public money, it is not worth the paper it's press released on.
Mr. Speaker, this side of the House did not oppose the recapitalisation of the bank. So let us put that straight. And of the measures announced to help unemployed people today, which is £158 million, will she confirm that 58 million is being taken from another programme already supposed to help train people, and the other 100 million is exactly what she announced 2 months ago, the last time she and I did Prime Minister's Questions, which itself had been announced before. So this is a re-announcement of a re-announcement. At Christmas time, we're not just meant to get repeats, and that is all we're getting from the government today. The Governor of the Bank of England himself has said that there has been a further tightening in the supply of credit to households and businesses, which is likely to continue. He said on Monday additional measures will probably be required to underpin lending to households. This House is not going to be sitting for nearly a month. How many more people are going to lose their jobs while the government dithers about introducing this scheme? Why doesn't she tell the Chancellor to pull his finger out and introduce it?
But they would not back the £1.3 billion extra money that we're putting in job centres to help people with retraining, to help with job advice, and crucially, the money that we're putting in to back people up if they become unemployed so they don't fear that they should lose their home. And not only are they failing to back the action that we're taking to support people who become unemployed, but they announced last week a policy which would make matters worse, because they've said that at this crucial time they would cut public spending, and if they cut vital public investment, that would be devastating for the construction industry and for jobs and the infrastructure of our country. So what they've done is they've said firstly no action, and now they're suggesting action which would make matters even worse.